Some stories never truly belong to childhood. We just happen to meet them there first. And years later, when we return, we realize they were always darker than we remembered. Gale, Yellow Brick Road is built entirely around that realization. Before we begin, would you please support me? Subscribing is free and very important to me. Please subscribe for better analysis and more videos. Chilling Films and Fathom Entertainment have officially announced that Gale, Yellow Brick Road will arrive in theaters for a one-night-only cinematic event on February 11, 2026. And this isn't just another twisted fairy tale remix. This feels like a deliberate attempt to confront nostalgia head-on and tear it apart. From everything revealed so far, Gale, Yellow Brick Road doesn't want to shock you with cheap scares. It wants to disturb you by reshaping something deeply familiar into something profoundly wrong. This reimagining of the Oz mythology is directed by Daniel Alexander, and it approaches the material with reverence and cruelty in equal measure. The film doesn't mock the legacy of L. Frank Baum. It interrogates it. It asks what happens after the magic fades, after the stories end, and after the road stops being yellow. The theatrical screening will include more than just the film itself. Audiences will also be shown an exclusive behind-the-scenes featurette running just under 5 minutes. This special segment dives into the redesigned world of Oz, the film's oppressive atmosphere, and a selection of characters pulled directly from Baum's original novels, including figures that have never before appeared in live-action adaptations. What makes this edition especially compelling is how openly it showcases the transformation process. Viewers will see actors stepping into these roles through intense makeup applications, layered prosthetics, and intricate costume construction. It's a rare look at the craftsmanship behind the nightmare, revealing how mythology and horror are fused at a practical level. Adding to the film's unsettling identity is the newly revealed poster artwork by Creepy Duck Design, a name well known among horror fans for striking, surreal visuals. The poster doesn't lean into nostalgia. It weaponizes it. Bright colors clash with ominous imagery, reinforcing the idea that this is Oz seen through a fractured lens. Chilling Films founder and executive producer Dane Petroli described the project as a deeply personal reinterpretation of a world that has existed for more than a century. According to Petroli, the goal was never to simply darken the story for shock value, but to present a new vision rooted in respect for the source material while pushing it into uncomfortable territory. He emphasized that familiar faces would be transformed, nostalgic elements would be reimagined, and entirely new characters would be introduced. The intention, he explained, was to create something dark, thrilling, and emotionally grounded. Not a parody, not a gimmick, but the beginning of a much larger story that Chilling Films is eager to share with the world. Fathom Entertainment CEO Ray Nutt echoed that confidence, pointing out that horror and fantasy remain two of the most popular genres among theatrical audiences. Gale, Yellow Brick Road sits directly at the intersection of both. According to Nutt, the film offers a cinematic experience that is dark, unsettling, and intensely immersive, making it perfectly suited for a shared theatrical event rather than casual home viewing. At the center of the story is Emily Gale, the granddaughter of Dorothy. She isn't a wide-eyed adventurer. She isn't searching for wonder. She's a quiet, withdrawn young woman haunted by hallucinations, fragmented dreams, and a growing certainty that reality itself is slipping out of alignment. As Emily's psychological state deteriorates, the film pulls her and the audience into a shadow realm that should not exist. This is not the Oz of songs and colors. This is a broken echo, a place where magic has decayed into something malignant. Through disturbing encounters and surreal revelations, Emily uncovers the long-buried legacy of Oz, a legacy no longer defined by hope or adventure, but by destruction, loss, and unspeakable horror. What was once a land of fantasy has become a landscape of trauma. Gale, Yellow Brick Road moves deliberately. It doesn't rush its descent. Instead, it slowly tightens its grip, blending psychological horror with mythological fantasy. The film explores themes of madness, memory, inheritance, and the cost of stories that refuse to stay buried. This isn't about monsters jumping out of the dark. It's about the quiet terror of realizing that something you trusted has been rotting for decades. The Yellow Brick Road isn't a path to salvation anymore. It's debris, fragments, a reminder of what was lost. What makes this reinterpretation stand out is its emotional weight. The horror doesn't exist in isolation. It's tied directly to identity, to lineage, to the fear that some legacies can never be escaped, only endured. By framing the story through Dorothy's descendant, the film asks an uncomfortable question. What happens when myth becomes inheritance? When wonder becomes burden? When the past demands to be remembered whether you want it to or not? The choice to release the film as a one-night only theatrical event feels intentional. This isn't meant to be consumed passively. It's meant to be experienced collectively, in the dark, with no pause button, no escape. Gale Yellow Brick Road isn't trying to replace the story you remember. It's trying to sit beside it like a shadow, reminding you that every fairy tale has a cost. And sometimes the road doesn't lead home. It leads somewhere far worse. Stay sharp, stay curious, and I'll see you in the next one.